you believe that we started recording right in the middle of 2020 with all of the COVID and lockdowns going on around us, unable to meet up? So like many a young gentleman, we turned to the internet for our entertainment. Tried to find a place where we could meet up and talk about the good, the bad, and that time that Stu saw a pelican on the canal. In order to facilitate our dreams of answering all of the big questions in film, and after a few attempts at recording via other methods to various levels of success, we found Zencastr, a super easy web-based one-stop shop for recording. Log in and you're ready to record in a matter of seconds. It doesn't take a tech genius to get high quality audio or video. And on top of that, the one time we have had an issue, the fact that the multi-layered backups are stored locally means it's easily fixed all in browser. There are plenty of tools you need when you start podcasting, so let Zencastr take that headache away, as it offers a place to record, edit and distribute all from one website. Any lazy bones Jones can pick up and play and have studio quality audio or 4K video put out for the world to see when using Zencastr. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code CAGEFIGHTING and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. And now, hit the music. Hello everybody, I'm just jumping in here. Hello everybody, just jumping in here before the episode starts properly. So because we recorded this slightly out of sync, we do talk about going to see Longlegs in the future, but obviously that was last week's podcast. And also we talk about having this week off, but we're not doing that now. So basically, this is what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. Matt's back next week and he'll be taking the reins for a Musicast. We're then taking 2 weeks off for our summer break. And then we're back at the end of the month to watch Moonstruck and give our top 5 late 80s films. Hello and welcome to Cage Fighting. It's your main man Andy Gillard here. Hope everybody's keeping well. We recorded this like 4 weeks ago by the time this is going out, so I don't know if it's going to be hot, cold or whatever, but hope you're well anyway.
I think hot, cold, or whatever could be the name of this podcast at this point. it's so wide ranging, and I mean we will get back to talking about Nicolas Cage soon. I promise.
Yeah, the plan is from August, so next month we'll be back on the Cage plan. I think that when we get there, we'll go straight into Longlegs. Hopefully, if we've both had a chance to see it by then, and that should be the first film to do it with. But we're also joined with the third again this week. We've got Ash Dolan with us again. Hello, Ash. Hi again. I'm tired. This is a bumper episode for us. So like we've been here for like nearly 3 hours at this point. We normally sort of like might do a double record, which might touch about 2 hours and 2.5 hours, but going all nice. So this is a half-time review, so we've now had chance, hopefully, to have watched all of the films that we wanted to see in the first half of the year. So we're going to pick a few categories and discuss a couple of films or TV shows that we've seen in each of the categories that we think that you should probably watch. So we'll start off with an all-age affair. So, Stu, what have you seen that you think, the young and the old might get a kick out of in the first 6 months of the year?
I mean, there wasn't much this time, was there? I mean, looking at, well, from what I've personally watched, and there's 33 things of the film and TV that I've watched at this point so far. There's Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, but that's in other categories. But I'm going to have to say, out of everything that we watched, and it's not an animated film, and it's The Present.
Good choice. Yeah, that was an unexpected gem of a movie, wasn't it?
Just so nice. mean, how long's it been there? Months? Since we watched it?
I think it was the end of May. Wasn't it around I think it was my birthday week that we watched it. So, like, yeah, it's been a month and a half. In our time, 2.5 months by the time this drops.
Yeah. Have you watched it yet, Ash?
I haven't, no. I've been recommended it a few times, but I never got round to it. Is it Greg Kinnear?
Greg Kinnear, Isla Fisher.
I do like me some Isla Fisher.
It's just so wholesome.
It's exactly the kind of film I would normally hate.
Yeah.
But it was so nice that, yeah, I get that. That's...
When we're talking about how he used to hate Christmas and now he's got a soul, it's like that.
Ash, what about yourself? Anything all ages?
I think, like Stu said, there's not been lots. And I think I'm going to have to go with the most recent one that I watched, and that was Inside Out 2. I thought it was lovely. I thought it moved on from the first one nicely, and it touched a lot of, not more adult, but more teenage issues that one has, and it did it in that Inside Out charm. And obviously, it also helps that you've got Leslie Knope and Phyllis from The Office as you saw your main two. So that was it's always going to have a good fit, good go for me. So yeah, I think Inside Out 2. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I really liked Inside Out 2 as well. I don't think it's as good as the first one. I do think the first one is. It's a perfect movie. I think it's fantastic. But I think it's genius in its concept when you think about it, really, that it's a boundless IP, that this can go on forever. And taking their audience with them from being kids watching it and sort of recognising what's going on to now being... Is adolescent the right word? Is that what you call someone who's just going into puberty?
Yeah.
Someone who, that tweener sort of age, potentially. And you just take them along with you. They could do one when she's 18 years old, and you've still got that audience with you at that point. And you can keep going as long as you want. That is such a clever way to do things. I really enjoyed Inside Out 2. I thought it was a great film. And dealing with some of the issues like anxiety being a character in there. And it's something we can all sort of identify with regardless of what age you are, that you've been through those puberty years and you understand how things have changed for you. And yeah, really clever, really well done. I was kind of sad Bill Hader didn't return, but it was a good film nonetheless.
Without making a spoiler, when she starts towards the end, when she has the panic, the anxiety attack, and she's you can see her going. It actually got me choked a little bit, because you can relate to that sort of stuff, and that's for me why I think I preferred 2 to 1, because obviously you're looking at it from a child's point of view, whereas she's now getting adult emotions, and how well they're bringing that out in the screen. I could sort of feel where she was coming from, like with the anxiety attacks and stuff like that. So I thought it was superb.
Excellent film. The answer that I went for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I really enjoyed that. I think it helped that I went to the Ghostbusters headquarters this year as well. And it was made up with all of the Frozen Empire stuff outside of it. So many people have bashed the Ghostbusters, like the last 2 especially. And I've really enjoyed both of them. They're both nice, happy films that pretty much any age can get into. There's no like cynical edge to it, like you sort of expect, especially films that are from the 80s with Bill Murray. You expect a little bit of sarcasm to them. And these don't really carry that weight. They just give you a nice film with a good storyline that is easily identifiable, and you just go through the journey with them, and that's it. It doesn't need to be all deep and brooding all of the time. Sometimes it's nice to just have something good in a film, and that's what I thought this was. Just a good film that anyone could identify with. So the next category I've got written down is the action category. Ash, what have you got that you saw this year that you thought was a good actioner?
I was torn. I had two. I thought in terms of the set pieces, Furiosa, superb, but that's just that's by the by at this point. But for what I went for, Bad Boys, the new Bad Boys, just for the cinematography in some of the action shots, especially the one scene when they're in the at the end in the theme park. And I watched the behind the scenes footage, and they had how they rigged up the camera to be Will Smith when he's running around shooting them, and he's turning the camera around so he's got the first person looking at him and stuff like that. I thought it was very well shot, and add on to the fact that it's Bad Boys, better back to, if you enjoy those films, if you back to their best, which is doubtable. It's debatable for Will Smith, but this is what I want to see Will Smith doing nowadays. Silly nonsense.
They did fuck up by calling number 3 Bad Boys for Life, because Bad Boys 4 should be Bad Boys for Life, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
That's a simple mistake they made there. I don't get that. This film had no right to have such exquisite camera work. It was ridiculous, some of the shots. Like when he's falling and then the camera just flips over and he's now underwater. And I don't know how they did some of these shots and why they did it for what's ostensibly a dumb as fuck film. Yeah, really so much more impressive than I expected it to be. And like streets ahead of number 3. Like, it's not a good film, so many plot holes, and it's ridiculous. But I did enjoy it as well. Stu, what's on your action list?
Bear in mind, I haven't seen Bad Boys 4 because I haven't seen Bad Boys 2 like I talked about, and I haven't had the impetus. But so many people have now raved about the 4th one that I kind of getting the urge to go and watch them all again. So it has been a long ass time. But with that in mind, looking at everything on the list here, there's a few things. I mean, can you class Dune? I mean, there's action bits in it, but it's not really about that.
Mm-hmm.
So out of the heart of an action film, gonna have to be The Beekeeper. Because it's pure. It knows what it is. When you say action film, it's one step away from having Chuck Norris in it. It's superb. And I love how it loves itself for being what it is as well. The whole thing is stupid. The whole organisation's names are stupid. Everything about it is ridiculous. It's a throwback to the 90s and it's brilliant. Best action film of the first half of the year.
Yeah, it could easily have starred like Sylvester Stallone or Arnie in 1993, and it'd be exactly the same film, apart from it wouldn't be about an internet hacker. That'd be the only difference in it. Like, you are right, it's a 90s throwback all day. And it's just silly as fuck, but yeah, it was great fun, wasn't it? It's the line where he says that he says that he's American, but his mum's from Britain. That's why he's got a bit of a weird accent.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's just because you can't do an American accent. Don't fucking lie. Just don't. Yeah, it is excellent though, isn't it? I'd got Furiosa on mine for some of the set pieces as well. Really good, especially the fight scenes where they're on the big rig going across the desert. Just absolutely fantastic, some of that stuff. Bad Boys I'd put down on the list as well, but the one for me was Monkey Man. Dev Patel, I'm genuinely stunned that this is Dev Patel's debut film, because I've seen directors who've got fucking 50-odd films under the belt who haven't done anything half as good as what Dev Patel has done in his debut movie. Absolutely outstanding. It obviously gets a lot of John Wick comparisons, and they even mention it in the film itself that it's very John Wickian. So like they know what they're doing, and they give it us, and it was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed Monkey Man, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what else we get from Dev Patel, whether or not it's a Monkey Man sequel or it's something completely different. I'm very excited about what he can do as a director now. So yeah, Monkey Man for me was my favourite action of the first half. So the next category is horror. So for me, I've gone with... I've got 3 on my list. I'm going to go with Late Night with the Devil, which is one I mentioned when we did our quarter review. David Dasmalchill was fantastic in that. It's this kind of smug, kind of broken dickhead who had his own talk show, who was a fading star trying his hardest to bring people in for one last hurrah. And it was set at Halloween, so he's got all of these people coming out. He's got a medium on there, and he's got someone who claims to be possessed, and everything goes wrong. It was such a fantastic idea that could have gone horrendously bad, especially just because it's a Shudder film. And having seen quite a lot of Shudder stuff, I know that there's as much misses as there are hits out there, but this is quite easily the best thing that Shudder have put out. It was scary when it needed to be. It was funny when it needed to be. It managed to toe that line like all good horrors do between the two. And I really, really liked Late Night with the Devil. So that's my shit.
I think it's going to be as no surprise because I'm guessing it was on one of your three as well, and it's the more. Love it. It's the fact that it's still not getting the credit it deserves is a joke, an absolute joke. We know why, because it's not a studio. I think it's such an independent film. It's so small. It's going to take someone massive to say something about it for it to get any kind of traction, I think, at this point. Because even the reviews that our boy Reese, on his one-man crusade to get some kind of publicity for this film, retweeting everything and watching and reading every review of it. Even things from The Guardian, was it The Guardian, that they had a decent review of it?
They did.
Nothing at all. And it's a farce. It's an excellent film. And films that gave me a chill and an actual tingle of the spine, moments in this film did it for me. And that doesn't happen very often. I'll watch a good horror film and I'll appreciate it. It doesn't make me feel like this did. I ain't gonna shut up about it. I ain't gonna stop talking about it. It's gonna be the horror equivalent of Valley Girl. It is class.
Yeah, it was a great movie. I really enjoyed that, and I do hope that more people get to see it. I think it's just such a small budget that it probably couldn't afford to go in more cinemas than it did. So I'm sure I think it broke the top 100 of the week. So, it did well enough, but I hope that once it hits streaming that more people get to see it, because it definitely deserves it. I mean, even Mark Kermode spoke about it on his podcast, which I think is probably the most listened to film podcast in the UK. I think he's even listened to in America as well. He's got decent numbers there. So he's spoken highly about it. So fingers crossed that it does get a bit of life. Ash, what's on your list?
I imagine that it's probably going to be the last one of the three of your horror ones, but Abigail. I had a lot of fun with Abigail. It knew what it was. It was absolute nonsense. But it did a nice little twist on the tale as old as time for these sort of films. And it looked like everyone was having fun. And I had a lot of fun. I couldn't say enough good things about that film.
It was a good film. I like Durant, is it?
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant. I think he's young.
Wonderful day.
I like him. He's a very good actor. He plays a dumb meathead really well, and he was perfect in that role. Yeah, that is a good film. I did enjoy that one. The only criticism I would have, it's not really a criticism, I wish I knew nothing about it going in.
Yeah.
It's not a twist. It's not really a twist what happens, but I wish I didn't know about that, because I spent the film waiting for that to happen. So I'm not going to spoil it, but that's the only thing.
You talk about Kevin Durant there. Have you watched The Strain now?
I've seen the first season of it.
That did end properly.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, but it properly ended. They'd have to go some to carry on. There was proper resolutions for everything.
No.
And well, you said he plays a meathead, and I just thought, being a New York rat catcher in The Strand.
Well, yeah, he plays that character in Abigail. To be
I'm gonna-
perfectly honest, it's exactly
gonna watch-
the same.
I want to watch it this weekend because obviously there's no games until 5, is there? So I might sneak an early one in. So it's been on the list for ages, and Judah was talking about it to me as well. That have you seen it yet? And I need to get it. I need to. Because if I don't watch it soon, whatever happens is going to get ruined for me.
Yeah,
Oh.
just watch it first chance you get.
Yeah.
The other film that I had on my list is a film called Humane, and it's Caitlin Cronenberg. So I think it's David's daughter and Brandon Cronenberg's sister, I think. And that's a film. It's set in a house in the not too distant future, and the world needs to lose 20% of its people, so they have to choose who dies. And it's just set in the house. It's kind of silly. When I saw Cronenberg's name on there, I was expecting to be a little bit highfalutin, a little bit body horror, a little bit weird. And it sort of wasn't actually any of those things. It was almost rompness to it. Like, it was a little bit fun at times. So it didn't end up being the film that I expected it to be, but I still really enjoyed it. So I am glad I saw that one. It's got Jay Baruchel, who I think is a really good comedic actor. Emily Hampshire, who was in Schitt's Creek. Peter Gallagher, who you'd also recognise as well. So there are a few faces in there who you'll know. And yeah, that's a decent 90-ish minutes, 100 minutes, I think it clocked in at. So yeah, Humane is the other one that was on my list. Ash, tell me about a good comedy that you saw this year.
I struggled a little bit with comedy because I've not seen, and I'm sure it'll be. Actually, I won't spoil it because I'm pretty sure it's going to come up with one of your two things. But I went with Wicked Little Letters. I laughed a lot at that film, and it had a lot of heart. And seeing Olivia Colman playing an uptight, for church going goody, and then watching it all turn, and then that bit at the end, oh, beautiful. Now I think that one I laughed the most at this entire year. I loved Wicked Little Letters.
I wonder if Wicked Little Letters is as fun without the audience, because I saw it in a fairly busy cinema with just a bunch of old biddies who were chuckling along at cunt. And I was like, that's fucking great. I really enjoyed it.
We didn't have. I remember we walked into our screen and there was just old people, and they looked at us and were like, "What are you doing here? Why are you here?" It looked like dirt on the bottom of their shoes.
Yeah, it was a very older audience on that one. Stu, what about yourself? What made you laugh?
I mean, that reminds me, that was one to add to my list as well. I know you were talking about it straight away as soon as you saw it. Obviously, Queen of Our Hearts in that film. There's one obvious answer which I'll get to in a minute, but I really enjoyed Drive-Away Dolls. And as I said at the time, we all know why it got shit on. Don't need to go into that anyway. But it was just funny. It was a good hour and a half, and I just looked at the thing, and it's like a 5.5 on IMDb. That's bollocks.
Yeah,
it was great fun, and it was so different. I mean, the lesbian thing aside, you still don't see people talking like that in a normal film, would you? Because it's very crude. But it's not crude in a kind of shocking way. It's just young people talking like they do. The fact that the lesbians kind of adds that layer to it, I suppose. But it was just good. It was just a good road trip film, which we don't get many of anymore. No real stars in it either. Like, you look at the list and you think, well, okay.
There's names you'd know, but yeah, there's no one who I think's really fronted up a film. Like, you'll know Margaret Qualley because she was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Geraldine Viswanathan's done quite a lot of comedy work as well. Beanie Feldstein's probably the biggest name in it, and she's a bit part character. Coleman Domingo obviously was, again, bit part character in this, and he's Oscar nominated this year. Pedro had a small role in it, but
yeah, and the other one don't
he enjoyed it.
Yeah, Pedro. because I didn't know he was in it, and then that happened, and I thought, oh, just class.
Yeah.
Silly. It's almost like Cohen-like.
Well, it is one of the Coens, isn't it? It's Ethan.
No, but because it's the different, the separate, ain't they? You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, you know what I mean. It's more like a proper brothers film than an independent. But I know Ash hasn't seen it yet, but the obvious answer is Ricky Stenicki, because that film is so perfect that he got me on such a train of watching these stupid films from years ago that I hadn't forgotten about it. I just got out of the... I mean, I'm not a very serious person anyway. Everyone knows that. And I don't take hardly anything seriously in my entire life. But I'd kind of got out of the rhythm of watching that kind of thing. And I don't really know why, because they kind of encapsulate who I generally am about everything all the time. And that film got me back into that vibe. And I love it so much. I've seen it 3 times now. It's brilliant. It's just superb. It should never have worked, but it does. And I can't see it being beaten for the next 6 months. I think this has got to... I said at the time, it could be my film of the year. It still could be.
Yeah, I just... it absolutely isn't my kind of comedy, but it fucking works, didn't it? It's the montage of Big Match John singing different songs about masturbation. It just fucking slays me every time I see it. It is so much... And you think, like, Zac Efron has done the Iron Claw, he's done one of the most dramatic performances of the last 12 months that we've seen. And he goes from that to the Ricky Stenicki. This is just insane. It's not my favourite comedy of the year, but I did really, really enjoy it. It was... I watched it expecting to hate it, and I was fine with that. And like, I'd message you immediately as soon as I saw it, like, yeah, you need to watch this. Yeah, I mean, it's on my list. I've got Lisa Frankenstein on the list that I think in years to come might become a cult classic. I really like Lisa Frankenstein. I don't understand how it didn't get more of an audience at the cinema. Maybe it just didn't get promoted particularly well, because it was Robin Williams' daughter, Zelda Williams, was doing the directing on it. And like, unless you know who Zelda Williams is, you would never have known about that, because they made absolutely no deal out of it, which seems a bit of a strange thing to do. So Lisa Frankenstein, I thought, was great. Catherine Newton's in it, who is someone I've got a lot of time for, even though she was in Ant-Man, which was not a good film, but
Abigail again.
yeah, she was in Abigail, Pokemon Detective Pikachu, Freaky.
Yes.
She's a really good actor, aside from Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yeah, King Pikachu.
Detective Pikachu's great, though.
It is good. It is a good film. I recently saw Am I Okay with, what's her name, Madam Web. It was good. Sorry, what was that shit?
Dakota.
Yeah, Dakota Johnson. It was good. It was about a woman in her 30s finding out she's a lesbian whilst her best friend is moving back to the UK when they live in the States. So her life's in turmoil. And it was a really good film. I really enjoyed this and had very low hopes. But the 2 real comedies that I've seen this year that I don't know which one. Hitman, I thought was great.
Yeah.
I really, really liked Hitman. And I'm like, we're 2 or 3 weeks after the film was released and nobody's talking about it already. The Netflix effect is in full swing with this shit. Mm-hmm. People need to see it because it is good. Really funny. The montage of him playing different hitmen,
The hair.
just fucking slayed. It was brilliant. Really needs to be seen. And this is why I said on the previous podcast that Twisters is going to be a big hit, because Glenn Powell is a star, and he's a star in this film. So
It's because I'd never really paid attention to him before this one, and so I was looking for, I know you from somewhere, and then we talked about it last week, air quotes. I mean, it's so hot in this room at this point. It feels like last week. The bits in that film that, again, it is like Ricky Sticky. It shouldn't work, It shouldn't work, and you think, is it a bit cringe? But like the guy whose job he takes, like him, the fact that he's just a mess.
Yeah.
He's just different self-creation. You got his boss, and I thought you can kind of see where this is going to go. And I thought, oh no, please don't be like this kind of not a woman in power thing again before people start. But she was just there, and it just worked, and it was very much all about them too. And
yeah, Adriana Iona, I think her name.
Never seen her before.
Yeah. No, she was in Morbius though, so apparently we have, and True Detective 2014. That would have been the sequel, wouldn't it? She's done bits, but not. Yeah.
I think you kind of don't want to say anything about it because it is the less you know, the better. Because you go in completely blind, like I did today, a month ago, for people listening. I mean, who knows? It could be number one every week from now on, but I doubt it because I've put it on my list of things to watch, and like today, I was like, I had a few hours to kill this afternoon. And I thought, what am I going to watch? It's like what's it called? Like a selection paralysis where there was I couldn't pick anything.
Too much choice.
Yeah. And I thought, it's fucking hot. I don't want to watch anything serious. If I want to watch a horror, I'm going to have to put the blackout blinds up. And then it's going to be even more hotter. So I shut the curtains, but get the projector on, just watch something mildly stupid that I've got on my list. And I went across, and that was the first thing there. I thought, okay, I know why I wanted to watch this. I'll put it on now. And it was the most perfect vibe ever. And it's a very close second for me. I'm so glad I actually watched it before we recorded this. So that was one of the reasons why I did. Because people have been talking about it beforehand when it was released. And then, as always, like you said, it's just gone. But yeah, it needs to stay up there somehow.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the sex scenes in that are full on as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, proper, yeah. It's a cracking film. Really enjoyed it. The last comedy that I wanted to mention is one called Snack Shack, which is the worst title of a film I've seen. And it was brilliant. I thought, if you look at the poster of it on IMDb for Snack Shack, and the name, you think this is just going to be some kind of silly nonsense teen comedy crap. And it absolutely wasn't. Honestly, I was crying halfway through because something happens that just breaks your heart. It's like, it's such a really sad moment, isn't it? And you're like, oh my God. You just sort of identify with the characters. It's a 90s based film set in Nebraska, and it's the perfect summer will change your life is basically the storyline to it. And it was really sweet, and it was kind of heartbreaking, but it was uplifting as well at the same time. The funny bits were really funny. The sad bits were really sad. And it just worked so well. I really enjoyed Snack Shack. And nobody's mentioned this film in the last 6 months or whenever it was released. I think it's been a couple of months at this point. But you wouldn't know it because it just hasn't been mentioned by anybody. But Snack Shack deserves all the eyes on it because it was a brilliant... I love a good coming-of-age comedy. And this is one of the best ones I've seen in the last sort of maybe 4 or 5 years. Absolutely tremendous movie. So I think people need to see Snack Shack. Dramas up next. Stu, what have you got dramatic for me?
I'm going to leave one off because I know what you're going to say. You're both probably going to say it, and you've already mentioned it once. I mean, we both know that Madam Web is the most dramatic thing in the world. Drama is always a weird one because I don't normally watch drama at all. Because there's no explosions and there's no comedy. But the only real answer, if I'm not talking about Iron Claw, is Mr. Bates versus the Post Office. Still, fucking class. Best thing I've seen all year, from a proper drama point of view. One of the best things I've seen all year, and probably for the last 5 years. It was superb. It had no right being as good as it was. Obviously, Toby Jones, he's eventually going to get knighted. He's brilliant in everything he does. But this was, and not just because of what it led to, which is all obviously great. The fact that it took being humiliated in front of the entire world, to bring justice for the Ghostbusters, wherever. Really well made, excellent performances all round, just superb.
Yeah, no arguments, absolutely brilliant. Ash, I mean, I know you're going to say the Iron Claw, but is there anything else before you said the Iron Claw that you thought was worth mentioning?
To be honest, I didn't really look for dramas because as soon as I saw what we were doing and there was only one answer word there, let's be honest, it just is, isn't it? Especially for like me and you, it was only ever going to be one thing. Just having a quick look through now. I suppose if you can count it, I'd say Shogun.
Yeah.
For a drama, Shogun was superb. Have you watched it yet, Andy?
No, not yet. I still haven't finished Fallout. I've been on episode 7 for about 3 weeks at this point.
It's only 8.
I know. I just don't care. It's boring. It's just not that. The problem is, watch it alongside The Sopranos. Just fucking murdered it. Because The Sopranos was so good, and this was just fine.
You could also say Civil War as a drama because there's not a lot of action per se, but Civil War was superb as well.
That was a good film.
But no, it's Iron Claw.
I mean, I'm not a brother anymore. That line will never not break my heart. It was a work of art. I mean, I'm still quite angry that there was no Oscar nominations. And I know the Oscars aren't the be-all, end-all because they're political as fuck. But even so, I don't understand how Efron didn't get a nomination. Don't understand how some of the brothers didn't get supporting nominations. I just by some of the decision. Yeah. The mum, Lily James as well. I don't know how several of them weren't all nominated. Cinematography was stunning in that film. Just,
I mean, that bit where she's got holding the dress up, and it's like, oh, this is not the first time.
When the bear goes across the river and he sees the brothers and then the young.
Oh yeah.
Oh my word. I always remember when I went to see it, we were sat there and we had people and they were wearing a High School Musical jumper, and I was
you don't know.
Playing for a good evening today.
I mean, obviously I had no idea about what it was about. Other than it was some wrestling thing, and like I said at the time, that I couldn't believe that they toned it down.
Yeah, that they actually took one of the deaths out because it would have been too unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, that was top of my list. I'd also put The Zone of Interest on there. Did either of you see The Zone of Interest? The Jonathan Glazer film. It's set in the house outside of. It's not Auschwitz, but it's a concentration camp. So you're watching the mother and her children play in the garden with trains running behind. You see the train smoke going and just this ordinary life going on with horror, but you never see the horror, and it's tough.
You know when we say the whole meme of what Andre Gillard watches. This is exactly the kind of mad, horrible shit that we say. I've never even heard of this.
Did you not? It was quite a big film when it was out. Well, I think, to be fair, I don't know if we got a particularly big run of it in this country, but Jonathan Glazer...
It's an international feature.
It did. It was... Jonathan Glazer's an English director, but it was all filmed, all speaking in German. And I've never felt so sick as I did at the end of this film. It was absolutely fucking horrific.
That's
yeah, I mean...
I don't know anyone in this.
Sandra Hull is in it, who was also in Anatomy of a Fall last year, which was another really, really good film that she was tremendous in. But yeah, I mean, if you like Schindler's List, it's a very different film, but it's set around similar sort of goings on, and it's not Rudolf Hess. It's a different Hess, but it is someone who was a high-ranking Nazi official. But it's fascinating. It's so well made and like just devastating as well in parts. I would thoroughly recommend it, but it's not an enjoyable watch. It's just a very good film. The other one I watched that I really enjoyed was All of Us Strangers, which is about Paul Mescal, who he somehow manages to go back in time and meet his parents before they died, and he gets to have a relationship with them whilst he's having a relationship with Andrew Scott in the modern day. And he's sort of figuring it all out as he's going along, and it's beautiful and it's sad and it's really moving. It's a great performance from all involved. So All of Us Strangers was the other one that I really enjoyed this past year, or past 6 months rather. So the last genre I've got on the list, documentaries. I really struggled with documentaries this year. I don't feel like I've seen any good documentary films. The only good stuff I've seen, I've watched a couple of things about gangsters and stuff like that. But the one that I've gone for is Thank You, Good Night, the Bon Jovi story, which I watched a couple of weeks ago. And it was a really good look at Bon Jovi as they are now, interspliced with like the last 40 years of their career. It was a really well-made, structured documentary. There was 4 parts. Each part was about an hour long, and they went through the different stages of the Bon Jovi career. It really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great watch. As someone who's was very much into Bon Jovi and sort of lost my way with them probably about 15, 20 years ago now, it was good to get back into it, and I've been listening to some of their albums ever since. It was a good 4 hours spent, I think, on that one. Ash, what's your favourite documentary of the year?
The only one I struggled as well, but I went for the one that I was, let's say, a part of. I was there for, and it was the final attack on Wembley. Just to see how mad that was, like being there myself, it's just surreal.
That guy with the neck tattoo is going to be one of the stupidest people in the entire world. What is he? Why is he got? I mean, obviously he's been paid to go on there and make a cunt of himself. But why on earth would you go on there and talk like that? I mean, I'm guessing that these people have been arrested before they've done this, because otherwise you're just going to get arrested after the fact. I think this documentary explained more to me what's happened at football since after COVID than anything else. That these bellends are everywhere now, and it's kind of for the first season and a half, it ruined away games because they were all like this. Every single away game, they were all coked off their heads because that's all they had to do in lockdown, because they couldn't drink at home because they're pussies or whatever. Who knows? But they were all. You saw it every away game you went to. Everyone was off their face on coke. And you look at this documentary, and they were on from like 8, 9 in the morning, I think it was. And you got obviously the famous guy with a flare in his arse, and the one who's doing it off a spoon in broad daylight, and just insanity. You think, oh yeah, this is why England are hated all over the world because of people like this. It made me angry because I only watched it a few weeks ago as well, because in the build up to the Euro, I was thinking, oh yes, let's get in the mood again. Who knows? We're probably champions by now, but it just pissed me off because I've seen this kind of stuff firsthand, and it explains a lot now why it was like it was for so long.
Is that your answer as well, Stu?
No, my answer was American Nightmare, just because of the sheer badness of it all.
It's that voiceover kills it though, doesn't it?
I wasn't that bothered about it because you and Matt had took the piss out of it so much. I thought, it surely can't be as bad as it is. But it just makes it a bit more surreal than it needs to be. But the subject matter in itself is weird. And the fact that you think, this is how it can't get any worse than this, and then he does. And like you, I haven't really watched that many documentaries this year, strange enough. And I watched the Rooney one, was all right on iPlayer, but that was only like 29 minutes. And again, he just been thought, oh yeah, that was another summer that was 20 years ago when things were nice. Yeah, other than football documentaries, I haven't really watched anything. Drive to Survive was rubbish this year, because I think that's kind of run the course now because everyone knows the teams, everyone knows the drivers. That was the whole point. And you ain't got no characters anymore. So that's kind of died a death. So there wasn't really a standout one for a change. It's because when you consider some years when we've done this and there's been like 5 or 6, looking at this, that was the only. I actually said his friend and his compatriots at Welcome to Wrexham. That was a poor season as well because there's no drama anymore. They got promoted against the League One. That was the story. The whole
it pissed me off when they had on the last episode when they got doing the Rocky story and they're at the Rocky steps.
Yeah,
great underdog story. Get fucked.
You still got to do what you still got to achieve things with. You can have all the money in the world. We've seen it before. It doesn't always work. Fair play to what they've actually achieved there, and it is funny if you don't live in the vicinity of that stuff. But the only other one I had on here was where's it gone? I've completely lost it. That's not a good sign. Oh, there we are. The quite excellent Married to the Game on Prime. Just because of how ludicrous it was. And you think it's exactly what you expect it to be. These women exist. These women their only aim in life is to marry a footballer. And it kind of, it appealed to my whole like selling Sunset, selling London kind of, my thirst for shit, nonsense documentaries and reality TV. But again, that was a fly on the wall documentary, I suppose. But yeah, so far, not a great year for documentaries.
Like I've watched a few lately, but they're all from previous years. That nothing's really broke through this year. And most of the ones that I've seen that have been released this year have been like Netflix does that thing where they have like the ones about social media. And they're all the same fucking thing at this point. Like they've done the same film 4 times and it's just, nothing's really made an impact, I don't think, quite like they have in previous years, unfortunately. So yeah, it was a bit of a struggle, that category. So the final 2 questions. The first one then, Stu, what's been the biggest letdown for you this year?
Oh dear. If we're taking away Max Beyond, given it's mentioned.
Well, you didn't have any hopes for Max Beyond, let's be honest.
Well, but I did though. I did because when you sold it to me, you said, "Oh yeah, this is a film based. It's been made in Unreal Engine." I didn't realise it was Unreal Engine from 20 years ago.
Like beta version of Unreal Engine.
When you said it, and I said, "Oh, let's watch The Spirits Within," then the Final Fantasy film from about 2001, because that was obviously the first one that I can think off the top of my head that used graphics and things like that. And then it was even worse than that. I was quite annoyed, but mainly at you, not the film itself. I didn't. Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. But I think that was comparing it to Afterlife, which is actually really good. And maybe it was the surprise of that being so good that kind of tarnished my kind of levels for Frozen Empire, which I fully enjoyed it. It was absolutely fine. Like you said, last episode, it was fun. You can't moan at them for being fun, enjoyable films. It's got the spirit of what the original 2 were. No problem whatsoever. I think I just hyped it up in my own mind, thinking, okay, you've done.
I get you.
You've got the reboot sequel. And now go again, and they didn't quite go again. They just did more of the same, which is fine. It was just not what I thought it was going to be. But the biggest pissed me off disappointment of the year so far was True Detective Night Country, because that is fucking awful. But it's awful in the fact that it's so boring. If it was shit like season 2, I could have a reason to hate it. But it just dragged on, and it was it started. The first episode was good. I liked the first episode.
Yeah. So,
But then it just got progressively worse to the fact that I was just waiting for it to finish. And then the ending that we had, I thought, well, this has just gone, but it's gone the way of the second, hasn't it? Just,
I mean, I don't think I didn't dislike it as much as you, but it was only 6 episodes long. And to be honest, there was a lot of filler in there.
it felt like 12.
Yeah. I do think they could have got away with it being like a 2-hour film, if I'm perfectly honest. They could have done 2 episodes and it would have been a lot snappier and a lot more interesting. And the fact that they sort of vaguely tied it into the first one, but not to any great depth that it was necessary viewing. And it was a bit disappointing, wasn't it?
Oh.
Yeah, I'll get you. Ash, what let you down this year?
I went into this with high hopes because I enjoyed Kingsman, I enjoyed Kick-Ass, I even enjoyed the Eddie the Eagle film, but it was Argyle. It just did not hit, and it's such a shame, really, because that cat. I like obviously Cena's in it. I like Sam Rockwell. I like a lot of the people in that film, but it just did not hit. It just got bored halfway through, and it dragged, and it just kept going and going. No. Sadly, he doesn't miss a lot, but Matthew Vaughn missed this one.
It was such a long film, or at least it felt like it was such a long film, didn't it?
2 hours and 20.
And
Did not need to be 2 hours 20.
did it? Yeah, you are right. It's a very, very good cast, but it felt like it was an imitation of a Matthew Vaughn film.
Yeah.
Like it hits all the beats that you expect of Matthew Vaughn, but just without any of the Matthew Vaughn-ness to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. My answer, disappointingly, is Mother's Instincts. I was so looking forward to seeing Mother's Instincts. It's a sort of period-ish drama, not even period, really. I think it's sort of set in was it the 90s or even maybe the 80s? It has got 2 women I absolutely love in Anne Hathaway and Jessica Chastain. This has got like me written all over it. It's about a kid who dies. And I'm like, fucking come on. And it was just really drab and boring and not at all what I was hoping for. Like, if you put either of those 2 women's names on a film, I am definitely going to see it. And chances are I'm really going to like it. But this just didn't really get going. It just meandered throughout the whole thing. And I think I was hoping for it to be a bit more Hand That Rocks the Cradle, and it never got to that point. It just sort of stayed simmering rather than boiled over, unfortunately. So yeah, Mother's Instinct really let me down this year. So final question. What gets the 2024 Tiger King Award for the show or film that the whole world needs to watch? Ash.
I've sort of cheated because I think we've all seen it. Well, we've seen a version of it already, but I've been lucky enough, and I think I've said it every single time I've been on since I've seen it. But it's Godzilla -1 minus colour. We're still on the Godzilla -1 train. Come on. Apparently it's supposed to be coming to Netflix in the summer this year, so hopefully, even by the time that this comes out, it might be out by then.
Fingers crossed.
I didn't expect. I know how much you talked about it and raved about it, and it can't possibly be as good as it is, and it's bad. I couldn't believe it. And I know it's probably been talked about almost as much as Max Beyond, but it is. It doesn't make any sense how cheap that was. It doesn't make any sense. There's some dodginess going on there because how is it even possible?
$15 million budget. I mean, that let's be honest, they've done some fucking slave labour there. There's no way they've made that for $15 million.
No, because they treated their fucking VFX department with fucking care, respect and love. That's what happens. take note, the big fucking Hollywood industries. Look what happens when, all they did, what did they do? They put a sushi bar in the fucking VFX office so that the boys and girls, when they wanted some sushi, there's a person there to make it. Shock horror, and look what they produced. Get fucked.
Human beings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolute masterpiece. I took it as there's two ways for this answer. The first one was how Tiger King took over the world. Fallout took over the world. So, amazingly, out of nowhere. No one cared about Fallout, apart from nerds. And now it's everywhere. Now you go. I just out of curiosity earlier on, I went on eBay. Fallout. Cosplay Wonderland. You can get different suits with 33. You can do different vault numbers on. Pip-Boys everywhere. Ridiculous. For something so niche to be so successful and such a crossover that it doesn't even matter. It's not even a game anymore now. It's a TV show. It's Prime Video's biggest TV show ever. And it's absolutely massive. But as usual, you can't be normal, can you? You have to be the odd one out. But in terms of things that people should watch, and that is, and they did just looking up, 7 million people watched season 2 of this on BBC One, and that's Blue Lights. I've talked about it before. It is potentially better than Line of Duty turned into. First 2 seasons of Line of Duty was incredible. Blue Lights has got the potential to be as good as that was. And the fact that it was renewed for season 3 and 4 after 2 weeks of season 2 airing because of the reaction. It's for a drama in Northern Ireland, which we don't really know that much about here, and probably even less to our friends in India and America. Fascinating setting for something. Always the fact that we've got the lead woman from Lichfield, which always helps. But it's just a really, really good police procedural drama, which you think, that's just shit, isn't it? No one cares about that other than housewives and people in the 60s. But actually, I originally put it in my drama category as well. But it needed to be in this more than anything else. Because a lot of people obviously have seen it. A lot of our people haven't, though. And I know I said about watching Downton. That's not going to happen. I think if you watch Blue Lights, it's easier to get into because you know what you're getting into as a police procedural, but it's much deeper than that. And he goes into stuff about troubles, and he goes into the fact that how much they hate us there. And there's a whole thing about the British flag and all that kind of stuff that's still going on now. It's strange for a BBC-produced show. It is very on the nose about issues that you wouldn't expect them to put out. And it doesn't really matter because, again, it is about characters. It's just an excellent, excellent show. And I think if it hasn't already, when this gets exported elsewhere, it'll be massive.
Excellent. I mean, my answer is kind of sounding ridiculous in comparison to how sublime that sounds. I've put that on my list, but you know what? Every time I go into the iPlayer, it's never advertised. Like I never see it as the top, so I never think about it when I go in there. But it has been on my list for a good few weeks since you mentioned it.
There's another one now with Martin Friedman. That's supposed to...
Yeah, he's playing the Scouse. He's an
else one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been getting some decent reviews. But I do like Tim from The Office, to be fair. So when I put the question, when I was looking through the answers that I could possibly give, my first thought was, what's been the best thing released this year? But that's actually, the Tiger King wasn't the best thing in the year, was it? It was just the thing that everybody saw and came together. So then it sort of changed my answer. So I think the one film that's been out this year, right? So I've had 56 films that have been released in 2024 that I've seen so far. And The Fall Guy is the one film that I think everybody can and should watch. It feels like it's the most accessible to the most people, that I think everyone would enjoy it. like there's not really a lot of depth in it. Let's be perfectly honest. It's fairly digestible and throwaway, but it was really enjoyable. It was like you said a few weeks back, Stu, like silly seasons back, and that's sort of where it fits. It is a fairly silly film. He plays Ken, but whose job isn't beach. It's someone whose job is now stunt. Yeah. And it works perfectly. It works. That's all it needed. It just works. And like him and Emily Blunt, I said before, they have got fucking oodles of chemistry together. Winston Duke was a really good sidekick to Ken in this film. It was great. I really enjoyed The Fall Guy. I'm really sad that didn't get more eyes on it when he was at the cinema, because I do think it deserved better.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense, the fact that how you look at things from last year, they were massive, and then all of a sudden 6 months later, things like this, where you think, okay, we're in this vibe now, we're in this groove. We like Free Guy, which again was the Ryan Reynolds effect. Silly film, based on an even sillier principle than this. But it's the same kind of thing. We talked about it before, like The Lost City, very similar film. That kind of Jewel of the Nile, Romance in the Stone kind of era.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Bring it all back. And then you bring it back, and no fucker turns up to watch it. And I mean, I'm guilty as anyone. I didn't watch it until we could watch it on the service. Because I missed it in the cinema. I just couldn't get there. And then every time I went to go, and they were putting it on tiny screens, I thought, well, if you put it on tiny screens, I might as well just wait and watch it at home. And when I did watch it at home, I loved it. I thought, yeah, it's exactly what you think it is. And it's just him pissing about again, being his usual Ryan Gosling self when he's in fun mode, having a whale of a time. And so is everyone else. Like the whole thing with the blanks, that whole scene.
It was just good, fun movie. I think that, like, I've listened to some podcasts where they've said that the problem with it is it was advertised like the Netflix films that we've mentioned that instantly get forgotten. So because this was marketed like that, people didn't want to give it the time of day. But much like Netflix films, because it was on at the cinema, I do think that it should have had a better chance than it was given. And I don't understand it. Because you are right, there's a lot in this film that 12 months ago, people were flocking to the cinemas to see these kind of films.
But
they're just not.
If you watch the trailer for The Lost City, that is exactly the same kind of thing. It's the trailer looks like one of the Netflix trailers.
Yeah.
And a year's difference. It doesn't make any sense.
I just don't get it. But yeah, it was The Fall Guy for me. Ash, have you seen The Fall Guy?
Yes. I watched it opening night. I went. It was all right. It was fun. It was silly bollocks fun. It just made you angry that John Krasinski is living our best lives.
Yeah. He's up there with fucking Dave Franco for me. They can both. Right, okay. That's us done this week. We're going to take next week off, and then we'll be back the first week of August, and we'll be doing some cagey goodness. The plan is that we'll be talking about long legs. But who knows? If it changes, I'll put it on the Twitter just so you know anyway. But yeah, fingers crossed we get to see that one when it's at the cinema. If not, we'll do Arcadian, which is the other film that's at the cinema. But you can also stream it. So it'll be one of those two, I think, Stu. Right. So make sure you're subscribed on whatever podcatcher that you listen to us on, and a 5-star review would be phenomenal. Please make sure you've got us on the socials at Cage Fighting Pod pretty much everywhere, and it's cagefightingpod@gmail.com if you want to send us any emails. We don't get many emails, and to be honest, whenever we do, it's either like asking us if we want to review a film, or it's like trying to say that we owe people money, and Matt just replies giving them abuse or egging them on. So, yeah, so try that if you want. Matt might reply to you.
Yeah, prove he's not dead.
Yeah, he is still out there. Right, for this week, Ash, would you like to say goodbye?
Sayonara, suckers.
Stu, would you like to say goodbye?
Watch Sheldon, cowards. Goodbye.
Yeah, it's after 11, so I'm probably not going to start it now. But the plan was to start it tonight, but I don't think I will be now, to be honest. But yeah, I'll try and get it.
I'm in work in 6 hours.
On that note, it's goodbye from me, and remember, be excellent to each other.